Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I am back with another video I recorded on PTCGO. And this is the very first game I ever played with the Flygon list. You know, I'm a big fan of doing a deck analysis and then just putting up the first game I played with it. And would you believe it, on the very first game, not only am I playing against Mr. US Nationals commentator, 1 million subscribers, etc. himself, JWittz, but we're playing what appears to be a card-for-card mirror of Flygon Dusknoir, which is pretty hideous, to be honest with you. Although I enjoy playing against JWittz, although I'm not entirely convinced he has any idea he's playing against me. He did later confirm it on Twitter, but at the moment I don't think he has any idea, because why would you? My PTCGO name is ridiculous. But I managed to go first. I've got a half-decent start. I have got a Dusnoir down there, and I've got a Tropical Beach. And I've got a Skylar to go and get myself a Pokemon. But to be honest, it's not the best start ever, because I'm not going to be able to empty my deck empty my hand all that much for Tropical Beach, and I haven't got kind of the basics or the balls, etc. that I want down there, so that's a little bit of a pain, to be honest. So I'm grabbing an Ultra Ball, which might seem a little bit silly, because I could have just grabbed a level ball. My thought process here, and you can agree with this or not as you wish, my thought process here is I can get those cards in a discard, I can then Sacred Ash those cards back in again, and then I can draw a decent amount with Tropical Beach. And my thought process here basically is I don't have a good setup. Now the other option there would have been getting a Trapinch instead and evolving it up to a Vibrava this turn, but I was hoping I'd be able to hit a Switch or a Floatstone, and then I can Evo Soda, attach a DCE, and I can get a nice early KO using Deck and Cover. Going first, I am going to get the first attack off unless he somehow gets a Mewtwo. So it seemed like such a very good idea at the time. We're going to see if this actually works out here. Now you can see he plays an N, so it really doesn't matter what I did. And that gives me a much worse hand. I don't have the Evo Soda anymore, but I suppose I've got the Floatstone for Mewtwo, so it could be worse. Now you'll see here, he actually has a much better first turn than I do. He's also got the Mewtwo, he's also got the Xiaomi, he's also got the Duskull, but he has the Trapinch as well, and then he gets the Tropical Beach. So I've got myself a second Xiaomi here, I get to Floatstone and Mewtwo, and I play the end, desperately hoping that I can go ahead and hit an Excelgor DCE. And I kind of do and I don't. On the one hand, I've got the level ball which could get me an Excelgor, but I have no DCE. So slightly disappointing, shall we say. But I managed to fill up my bench, and that's good, because I've got a Colress sitting there for next turn, and I get myself an Excelgor for when I do get the DCE. So if I can start getting my stage 2s out, this is going to start going very well for me next turn. I've got my 1 Duskull to get up to a Dusnoir. I've got my 2 Trapinches, so I can start getting a spare Flygon as well, and a spare Xiaomi for Excelgor. Now, you could argue here that given the game that I'm playing, and given that my opponent is going to be trying to get Flygon up using Sandslammer, that I should try and limit the amount of Pokemon that I've got in order that he's not doing too much damage with Flygon Sandslammer. But I know in this game, if I can set up first, and I can be deck and covering and Sandslammering and have a Dusnoir out, I'm going to win the game, so I'm not so worried about him doing the extra damage. This mirror match really will come down to who can set up first, especially the Dusnoir, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you can see there I whiffed the DCE on turn 2, he didn't whiff the DCE on turn 2, so although I went first, and you can see there we've got very similar, in fact we have identical setups, because we've both basically identified we want to be looping deck and cover, we need a spare Flygon, and we need a Dusnoir, and Mewtwo for, you know, emergencies, shall we say. We've both gone for the exact same setup. So what you're essentially seeing here is two players who, forgive me if I sound a bit vain here, vaguely know what they're doing, playing the same deck, and unfortunately, the bad thing about games like this is it is going to come down to who draws better. Now he's got the Floatstone onto his Trapinch, which is lovely, and he gets the first deck and cover. Now if you haven't watched the deck breakdown, may I suggest you go back and watch it. But essentially, these decks are playing one switch each. I'm playing one switch, he's playing, well, I assume he's playing one switch. So I need to hit that one switch in order to be able to get out of that deck and cover. But I'm also playing 2 Max Potion, so I'm not terribly worried about that damage going on there. I can Max Potion it later. The annoying thing is, I don't hit a rare candy. I hit both a Dusnoir and a Flygon, but I don't hit any rare candy, which is somewhat annoying. I've also still yet to hit my DC. Oh no, sorry, I have hit a DCE, so I attach it there. I assume my opponent is playing the one enhanced hammer that I'm playing, because he's probably going by the same list as I am. But again, it's not the end of the world, because, you know, say he plays and he knocks off my DCE, I've got a big turn coming next turn, although I really need to hit some of my rare candy, or I'm going to be in trouble. I've got both my Dusnoirs in my hand. And there is the enhanced hammer, as I said, but I'm not terribly worried. I've got 3 in my deck, and I'm going to start running through my deck pretty quickly. Now he gets the Excelgor. The question is, does he have a DCE? If he doesn't, then I'm going to be able to retreat and hopefully get my own deck and cover going on. And you see that he gets the second Shaman. And this is what I talked about in my deck breakdown. The aim of the deck is to be cycling Excelgors. I want to be using deck and cover every single turn. Now, you can see here we're both struggling with our stage 2s. And we're both playing 4 rare candy, because no competent player would ever play any less than 4 rare candies, especially in a deck that's playing 2 stage 2 lines. So we're just desperately struggling to find them at this stage. Now, what I don't want to see here is rare candy Dusnoir, because if he gets rare candy Dusnoir, he can then move the 50 of the damage onto my Duskull. He can kill my Duskull. And in this game, if one person gets a Dusknoir out and the other person doesn't, that person will win. Because they can basically block the other person from ever getting a Dusnoir out. So I'm desperate here for a Skylar or for a rare candy, and I missed them both. And that is terribly, terribly depressing. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically Ultra Ball away my 2 Dusnoir. And that might seem silly, but this is essentially my only hope at this point. I'm then going to Dowsing Machine in order to get back my Sacred Ash, and then because I've put my Dusnoir into the discard pile, I can then use Sacred Ash to get them back out of the discard pile, and then they're back in my deck so I can draw them later on. That is far from ideal. That is really not what I want to be doing at this stage, but I have no choice. At the end of the day, I have to do that, because otherwise I'm going to have no Dusnoir left for the entire game. So I play my Max Potion on the Mewtwo, and this is just buying me turns. I don't really want to use a Max Potion. I know I'm down to 2 because I've already used my Dowsing Machine. But again, I'm holding out hope here that with a deck like this, if I can get the first Dusnoir, I can kill his Duskull. And if I kill his Duskull and he can't get a Dusnoir out for the entire game, I don't care how much damage he's putting onto my field with Sandslammer, because it's going to take 13, 14 turns to kill my stage 2s. By that time I've already won the game, and he can't accelerate the process by moving my damage around. So my focus here is I'm going to set up, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to try and make sure I get the first Dusnoir. And I'm doing everything I can. I'm running through my deck as fast as I can. I wasted my Dowsing Machine. Well, I didn't waste it, but I used my Dowsing Machine to make sure my Dusnoirs both went back into my deck so I could use them at a later time. And here I'm hoping 2 things. I'm hoping he doesn't have a Floatstone, and I'm hoping he doesn't have, I'm hoping he doesn't have a DCE, and I'm hoping he doesn't have a rare candy Dusnoir. Because either of those things at this stage would be brutal. If he doesn't have the DCE and the rare candy Dusnoir, then I know what my play next turn is going to be. I can Lysandra up his Duskull. I can then kill it using deck and cover, and that's going to put me in a huge position to win the game. Because then I can try and get the Dusnoir and he can't. So you see there's no rare candy. I can't get my rare candy for love nor money. But I've also got my Flygon, so not only can I deck and cover to kill his Duskull and take a prize while I'm at it, but I can also put Flygon up to Sandslammer. So really it comes down to what he drew from his Colress to 10. If I see Rare Candy Dusnoir here, and luckily it's a Flygon, I can only assume he didn't have the Dusnoir because that would have been the one to go for. And I'm hoping I don't see a DCE here. Because if I see a DCE, it's looking bad. So he's getting back a Colress and an N using his Power Pad. And like I said on my deck breakdown, it's going to keep drawing 6 probably a lot. And Colress, look at our benches. And he doesn't get what he's looking for. This means I can retreat my Mewtwo. It means I can Lysandre up his Duskull and kill his Duskull. And that is absolutely brilliant. Now I can also Power Pad back in that Lysandre and a Colress. I want my Lysandre, and Colress is the best supporter at this stage of the game. And essentially, and then I can put Sandslammer up, and Sandslammer will put 50 damage onto his board. So I know he can only bench one Duskull at this stage of the game. If he benches a Duskull and I get Rare Candy Dusnoir, I am going to win this game. Because it's going to take him a mountain of turns in order to be KOing my Dusnoir with his Flygon. And by that point, I'm going to have spread his damage around. And essentially, if I can be spreading damage around and he can't, I am going to win this game. It's as simple as that. The problem, of course, is that if you look at my hand, there is no Rare Candy Dusnoir. Now I can get one of them with Skylar, and he ends me. And again, I can get one of them with Skylar. Now this is where I'm not such a fan of Evo Soda. Now if that Evo Soda was a 4th Ultra Ball, I would be loving this right now. I would be just so gosh darn happy. Because if that Evo Soda was an Ultra Ball, I would have to kill a couple of Pokemon, or a Pokemon and an N, and that would suck. But what I'd be able to do would be Skylar for a Rare Candy, get my Dusnoir out, and there'd be enough damage to take a prize, and I just could Tropical Beach to draw some cards. But that's a moot point. It is an Evo Soda, not an Ultra Ball, and there you see I've got the Rare Candy, but not the Dusnoir, and that is absolutely heartbreaking. Nothing I can do about it. Now I could Rare Candy into Flygon here, but then I really want to draw the Dusnoir. So if I Rare Candy and draw the Dusnoir, I'm going to regret it. So I'm going to retreat into my Excelgor, and I'm going to deck and cover to put more damage on his side of the field, and to make sure that he can't deck and cover me unless he draws his one and only switch, and hope I draw something on my following turn. And if it's a Skylar or an Ultra Ball or a Dusnoir, then I'm absolutely golden. Or something like my Colress or anything along those lines. Because the problem is, my Dusnoir's getting very close to dying here. And if my Duskull dies, then I'm in the same position he is, except he's then got a better setup than I have. I don't have a Shelmet down. And that is essentially what this game comes down to. Any mirror match, and I'll tell you this for nothing, ladies and gentlemen, any mirror match where both people, I should say, are playing Dusnoir is going to come down to who gets the first Dusnoir. Assuming you've got some damage on the field, which you really should. And if you get the first Dusnoir, then you can block them from ever getting a Dusnoir out by just using Sinister Hand. And even if they're doing slightly more damage than you, once you've got a Dusnoir out and they don't, it's not about who done the most damage, it's who's got the best damage. And to be honest, that's likely to be me. Now, unfortunately, that Duskull is going to die at the end of the turn, so it's kind of a moot point here, and then it's all going to go wrong. But with a Dusnoir, and you see there, I finally got a hand which will allow me to get a Rare Candy Dusnoir. And not only will I get a Rare Candy Dusnoir, but if you look at the damage on his field, I'd be able to take me a couple of prizes here and slow his game right down. And, you know, I could then get a creative use of Max Potion onto the Dusnoir at the appropriate time and blah, blah, blah. It's all very much a moot point at this stage. My Duskull is going to die, and at this stage, I am getting very, very nervous. And, I mean, feel free to let me know in the comments below, but at this stage, I'm kind of wondering what I could have done. I got the optimum setup with my Duskull, my double Trapinch, my double Shelmet, and my Mewtwo. I killed his Duskull in order to give me an opportunity to get the first Dusnoir and lock him out of the game with Dusnoir. I basically did everything that I could to put myself in a position to win, but I never saw a rare candy and any way of getting a Dusnoir in the same turn. And at this stage I'm looking through my deck and I'm just starting to flounder just a little bit. So I'm going to grab a max potion here to stop him taking a prize, but there's no ball there which will allow me to get a another Duskull down. And to be honest, even if there was, at this stage of the game, if you look at my setup, I'm slightly worried. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do here. So I play my Evo Soda, there's nothing there, so I'm... And to be fair, that might have been a little bit of a misplay. Because if he ends me now, I don't have the Evo Soda in order to be able to draw the Excelgor. So maybe that was not the best plan. But if you look at the way it's going here, he's got the better setup. He's got the opportunity to potentially use Excelgor here. He's got the Floatstone on his Flygon. And I don't really know what I can do at this stage. Obviously there you can see the mocking rare candy Dusnoir in my hand. But, I mean, to be honest, Flygon Mirror Match might not be the best match to actually show off Flygon Dusknoir as a deck. But hopefully you've seen that when the deck sets up, hopefully I've kind of shown you how powerful it can be. But it's also a completely different deck without Dusnoir. You can see my opponent's got a bunch of damage on his board. You can see I've got a bunch of damage on my board. If JWittz here were to have a Dusnoir, he'd be able to move all the damage over to my Shelmet and kill it. Or take 2 prizes off my Mewtwo. I believe there's not quite enough damage. But he could certainly move all the damage over to my Shelmet and ensure that there was absolutely no opportunity for me to deck and cover next turn. Similarly, if I had a Dusnoir out, I could have taken out one of his Trapinches at least nice and early, and by now I probably could have locked him out of Flygon for the rest of the game. As it is, I'm poisoned and paralysed. I'm going to die very, very quickly. I don't have another Trapinch down on the bench. I have no way of getting Dusnoir out. And I just don't really know what I'm going to be able to do here in order to actually get a win. I essentially had, I mean, what this game came down to for me was that couple of turns. And I know I keep talking about the Dusnoir, but it really is absolutely critical here. I had those couple of turns, and what I could have done in those couple of turns was lock him out of the game and basically make it so that I can... And what I probably wouldn't have done in this matchup, like I mentioned in my deck breakdown, what I probably wouldn't have done in this game was try and just lock something active and kill it. What I would have done was take away his pieces. I could have taken away his Flygon. Or when he benched a Shelmet, I could have taken that away. Try and lock him out of deck and covering. I don't mind if he's doing essentially 20 damage a turn to all of my Pokemon, if I'm able to deck and cover and move that damage around to wherever I want it. I do mind if he's deck and covering and being able to Sand Slammer. And you can see there, when he uses Sacred Ash, he puts 2 Duskulls back in. Because he knows the same thing that I know. If he's able to get a Dusnoir out, he's going to win the game straight away. Although, I mean, he's a clever chap, he's a good player, that's why they picked him to commentate at Nationals this year, and at Worlds, I should mention. The fact of the matter is that he knows that he's won this game. Now, I'm just having a look around here, and this is what a lot of us do. Now, I'm going to retreat the Flygon. It's not going to do a huge amount of good, because it's got naffle damage left anyway, so it's still going to die pretty quickly, and I don't have a rare candy. Now here I actually make a slight calculation. I think I'm going to get the KO with Mewtwo, and I'm going to use X-Ball, and I leave him with 10 damage left, which, it is a silly misplay, but like I've said, at this stage of the game, even if I take those 2 prizes, I don't know where my next 3 prizes are coming from. I need to take 3 more prizes to win, and I don't know where they're coming from. Maybe if I can loop deck and cover, maybe if I can get a Flygon to go with that rare candy, I can maybe pull a win out here. And that really was my kind of last roll of the dice. But honestly here, my Mewtwo's going to die, and he's going to win the game very, very quickly. Now, I usually save this for the end of the game, but just as we're winding down here, do make sure that if you like this video, click like. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you do click subscribe. And if there's anything you notice in this game that you want to point out, anything that me or my opponent could have done better, or any comments you want to make about the deck in general, please make sure to stick it down in the comments down below. Most of you, I'm willing to bet, have never seen a Flygon Dusknoir Mirror Match, so I thought this would be a nice opportunity for you to see this game. It's just a shame that myself and JWittz couldn't have actually given you a better game to go forward with here. You have seen how to play the mirror match here. You've seen both of us trying to dig for that Dusnoir. You've seen both of us going for the optimal setups, and with the exception of, you know, me playing that Evo Soda a bit too early and going for the Mewtwo KO which wasn't actually there, you've seen both of us pretty much playing to the best of our ability. But what you haven't seen here is the deck setting up as well as it can. You haven't seen the opportunity for both of us to play as well as we can. And, I mean, really here, I'm clutching at straws. If I can, and you see there, I'm going to Skylar, and there's no way to get any Salgor. That Evo Soda should be in there. I played it to thin my deck out earlier because I was digging for stuff I probably shouldn't have done. There was a tiniest chance I could have tried to loop deck and cover there, but let's be honest, it was never going to work. Thank you very much for watching. As always, my name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.